Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records. Akashic, we laughing, we drafting the passion through vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Consciousness is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, fascinating. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
I am now so excited to talk to Adrienne because I have all kinds of specific questions for her of an esoteric nature. Having done the listening to her stuff that Safiya gave us for the first time, which I didn't do then, but I did now.
Should we admit something to the listeners right now?
Well, that's what we're doing.
I know. Yeah.
So Safiya gave us shout out to Safiya. Given us a lot of like research and links and websites and Instagram for Adrienne before she came on the first time. And I didn't have a millisecond scheduled. I didn't choose to schedule a millisecond to research, to look at any of it. So we had Adrienne on, and then she was like, by the end of her talk with us, she was like, I want to talk about my music. Okay, bye. And there was no time. And then that was also the craziest. None of the machines worked.
We had spiritual farting happening.
Farting was happening from God. God's farts were there.
There's a lot.
Anyway, so now I've like listened to all her stuff and I have legit questions. I'm like kind of like ready for her.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah. I think the thing that I was like admitting was like that there's constantly like, oh, we can step up our sort of our game in this way or in this way, and sometimes it takes another person to go, hey, I got a thought. How about you do this a little bit better or whatever?
Yeah. And I'll tell you the truth for me, I'm like at first I was like just doing it we said yes to Safiya and I'm like, well, the social pressure is present. I said yes. She's going to be pissed if I don't.
Sometimes it takes that.
Yeah. I don't want to piss her off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and do my homework, which is like such a goofy, reason to whatever. But then as I'm doing it, because really behind that, I'm thinking, well, I said yes to it because it's a good idea. All of it is good. Like she's bringing us forward in quality, time, space, whatever. So like it's a gift and a blessing. But it's funny how the motivation in the moment for me comes down to like, fuck, Safiya's going to murder me in my sleep if I don't listen to this. I feel like.
Yes.
And that's good because whatever it takes, to get it done.
Yeah.
Oftentimes this comes up with my coaching clients. Like people are like, well, I'm only doing it because I waited to the last minute and now I'm willing. And I'm like, who cares? Who cares the reason you got it done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people get really judgmental of them. I don't mean who cares entirely in a black and white way, but I mean, if you really care about getting a thing done and the way you get it done is too much caffeine and that doesn't have a negative side effect for you, drink too much caffeine. Or if the way you get it done is you wait to the last minute and burst it through and that doesn't have a negative consequence for you. It's about when it has a negative consequence that you don't want.
Yeah.
But it's not about doing it from judgment. People think like it's the wrong way to do it. There's no wrong way.
Well, we talk about like, don't do it from a proving place. Unless that's what you need to motivate you. Sometimes proving is the right motivation.
And if you have definition in your ego, if you have a defined ego, you're here to prove stuff.
Ah, so that's real for that person. Yeah.
We've talked about that here before, but like that's a great reminder. Oh, which reminds me of our Rami question that we have.
Well, it's funny. I was going to bring up just as an example. I was just talking about this with Denise. She's hanging out with me for a few days while I'm down here in the Carmel, Monterey area doing my show. So been having a lovely time. I have stuff to share about that. That's not this, but a little breakthrough I had. Breakthrough was the word I tried to say just now, not break fur. Anyway, we were talking about how Rami's dad, their late father, Jean, who's a wonderful guy, awesome dude, smoked for 50 years, some 60, whatever, way too long.
Right.
Since he was like 14. And then tried to quit, could never quit. Tried this, tried that, tried this, that. And then a friend of his said, his friend kept saying he was going to learn Italian. And John was like, when are you going to learn Italian? Because you're always talking about it. And the guy said, I'll learn Italian when you quit smoking. And then they set up a bet.
I love that.
Jean had to quit for 6 months before the guy would even start learning Italian. Jean quit the next day, never went back.
Wow. Something to prove.
Yeah, because he's a bullheaded, that he loves to argue. He loved to, all those things. That's the best motivation for him.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that's the way it worked.
Right. I wonder if he had defined ego and he needed a thing to prove in order to get the motivation.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have apocryphalized that story and simplified it, but it's basically that.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So how's it going down there? What's up?
It's good. I'll share a personal, I would call it a parts work breakthrough that happened.
Oh, cool.
That was interesting. Tiny background. I've always had, to be weird about it, I've always had issue with light touch, like someone like just touching me gently. It makes me, and there's a few things that kick me into panic reactions. That's one of them.
Okay.
Other ones that happen are like with when I'm swimming, I can't coordinate my breathing. And if I make one little breathing mistake, it throws my body into a panic.
Wow.
This is relevant. And the thing about Denise is she's an imp. She feeds like a succubus on that discomfort. Like if she sees me like going, she's like, oh God, that's so fun. And like, it really feeds her juices. And so it's been a sticking point in our relationship is like,
okay.
She's just like, oh God, but it's so fun. It feels so good in me to have you. And I'm like, but it sucks. I said, no, please stop, but did you really say no? And like, There's been a lot of back and forth around that. And she's done a lot of growth and learning about like, right, of course, no means no in all the ways, like,
right. Sure.
But anyway, she has these gel nails right now. So they're very hard and she's having too much fun, like banging him on things and dragging him across things. And she was doing it again. And we got into another discussion about it. And what I was noticing was like, this should be pleasurable. This is not an actually unpleasant thing. What is it about what's happening that sends me into a spiral? Not just like, ooh, I don't like that. But like, if I go, ooh, I don't like that. And she goes, ha, 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 let me take that and run with it. Then I get into a panic.
Okay.
So it's not just the soft touch or anything like that. And I immediately flashed back to another stupid thing that someone was calling me a nickname that I had said to them, you know what? I don't like that. And they continued to call me that. And in their mind, it was out of love because it was fun for us that they were joshing me. But I had very clearly said no to that.
Right. Wow.
And years, it's Bob, at the guy who runs or used to run Marin Shakes.
Okay.
And he sees me and goes, Cassidy. It's nothing. Like he says, Cassidy, who gives a shit?
Instead of Cassidy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It pisses me off. It doesn't piss me off because of Cassidy. Pisses me off because I asked him not to.
Okay. Got it. Boundaries.
And like for years. And like while I'm talking about this with Denise, I hearken back to that immediately and I start to connect these dots. So we had just meditated and Denise was like, you want to do a little gentle parts work on that idea? And so she just kind of talked me through like, let's talk about this part of you that is panicked and what does it need to say and what does it need to hear and what is not being, sort of talking back and forth. I don't remember exactly how it went, but yeah. But basically as soon as that part spoke, like I'm not being heard. And just it's happening again now. As soon as I say it, like, poosh, it's not being heard. And it's a super simple idea, but it was huge. And like, I didn't feel a significant shift in the moment necessarily, except that cry. The thought of it was clear, but we did some, moving of energy, and I felt some energy in my jaw again, which always seems to be the place where you and I have had some things where I can really feel it in my jaw until it pours out. It's a strange conduit for me. And then later that day, meanwhile, Denise is like, being much nicer and being like, I'm not going to do that. It's bad of me to push your things when you say no. But then I was like, do it. Do the arm thing. And she was like, oh, I don't want to because you don't want me to. I was like, no, I actually want you to. And I was like, I was able to feel it for like, oh, I don't love it, but I kind of want you to do it now. Like this idea of like separating the thing that was making me panic to the actual thing that was making me panic, which was not being heard.
Yep.
And then today in the pool, I started, I mostly swim with a snorkel because I'm a big old 55-year-old dork. Mm-hmm. It's made myself older than I am. And I was like, let me just try it a little bit. And I had said, literally, I can't do this. Like coordinate my breathing with swimming. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it's not great, but I can totally fucking do it. And I didn't panic when it went wrong.
Wow.
So
That's big.
I don't know what the connection between the breathing thing is and this other thing, but this big thing happened of not being fucking heard.
Okay. I want to say so many things about this. I'm so excited for you.
Please go. I love you.
I'm very excited for you. First of all, congratulations. That's huge.
Thanks.
To have parts work, I just think it's so satisfying. It works.
And I didn't feel this huge, oh, when it happened, which is what I'm always looking to have, whatever. But the result I felt.
Well, that's the point. That's thing number 2 is it doesn't always feel like much in the moment. But then if you see the results in your life, then that would be the point.
Yeah.
Not for in the moment.
Yeah.
The point is that your life is better.
Yeah.
Okay. Then number 3 is from a parts work perspective, what we would say about what you experience is fantastic. And now there's another layer so that there's something else about all that.
Right. Behind
whatever the next part is that needs to talk that would take the touchy thing down to you do like it. Yeah. Conceivably, or down to you have absolutely no negative response whatsoever, at least to that, and we don't know if you'll like it, but you'll get now if you want to, from I don't love it down to I have literally no response to it. Now that's again, nobody here is saying you have to do that work, but I'm just saying for the listener, anything that you're working with like that with parts, when you get it from say a 10 of discomfort down to a 5, hallelujah, and just know you can always go to a 0. Mm-hmm. That just means it's another session for another day. Yeah. I just love that news because that always makes me feel hopeful. Anything that, it's just yay, we could go all the way if you want. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And also for me, it helps to have an intellectual framing that I can recognize, the idea of I'm not being heard. Oh, I can attach my thought to that and go, oh, I understand what that is. But I also am aware that there's so much that's not in the conscious. That's the thing. Right. Rational word on a page version of it. Yeah. That's my other thing I was going to say is that the reason the breath thing might be connected to this thing, I know this isn't a very satisfying answer for a lot of people, but is irrelevant. What's relevant is that it is connected and it got better. Yeah. We could try to track every single thread of logic that makes it all make sense. Yeah. But wouldn't you rather just be able to swim and breathe? Yeah. Thank you. What a great way of putting that. You could understand it or you could just swim and breathe. How about that? Fucking awesome. The point that's so relevant, I think, is that so many people stop their own healing progress. And even if the word healing in this context means I couldn't swim and breathe, now I can swim and breathe, they stop it because they think they need to understand first. This is what I'm always saying. Yeah. You do not have to understand first. In fact, that will stop you from growing. All you have to do is do the work, and then the work does the shifting, and then the shifting liberates you. And then sometimes afterwards you understand. Right. But if you're grasping to understand, you can talk yourself out of something. You can logic your way through something. You can say, well, that's not true because. Well, and you're also putting a demand on the healing process that isn't there according to the healing process. Healing process is oh, we'll just clear it. But your mind is no, I must understand first. And then everybody wonders why they're all fucking stuck in their lives. Everybody's all fucking stuck in their lives. Yeah, I'm being a shit about it. But I'm true. Just excited for you. And you have to understand from my perspective, it gets very frustrating after 20 years of doing this work with people. I mean, this is my thing to work through. How many fucking times you have to teach people over and over and over and over and over and over, everyone, not just you, this idea. Yeah. That you don't have to understand, but it's because that's how conditioned we are to think that the mind is somehow the fucking boss of anything. Yeah. It's not. We've just given it all the power. We've chosen that, but you can unchoose it, guys, at any minute. This makes me think, sorry, tangentially, but very related. Was it you and I that were talking about? No, it was Eric and I were talking about, there's a guy, I'm not gonna be able to think of his name, which is probably for the best. He's I think a non-duality teacher. And he was one of the ones, all these, we've talked on here before about, all these different documentaries and stuff about all the spiritual teachers who do end up doing creepy shit and then get excommunicated from whichever system they created. Eric was telling me a story about this one guy. I think it doesn't matter, who his reason he got dethroned was he got very strident and very angry and very, like, people said, abusive about the way he was teaching, which of course speaks to something in him that, you know, we could have gotten him some help for. Like, he had something going on that made him need to be that way. But when I was hearing him tell the story of how it went down, I had a lot of empathy for that guy. I know it's like people can get triggered when I say I have empathy for the abuser a lot of times, but I do have empathy for abusers, because particularly ones that are like trying to help people at the same time. A, because I'm in that position, obviously, but B, because anytime somebody's abusive, they've been abused.
Right.
There's something in there that needs nurturance and help and love, right? Or they need a break, or they need, who knows what they need, but they need something. And there's a need that isn't getting met that ultimately drives them to be abusive. When he was telling me the story, the way I was hearing it was all I could do was relate to it. He was reading a thing about this guy's whole thing. And what people were so mad about was he was yelling at them. When are you fucking people gonna fucking realize, like yelling at them something about when are you gonna realize this idea?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there nodding my head while Eric's reading the thing. And I'm like, I feel you, guy who got excommunicated. Because when you've been in the position to say to people 60,000 times the same thing, at a certain point, you just go, fuck you, humanity. Like, I give up. I can't help you. I see a thing. It helps me. I guess, fuck you.
Yeah.
Or if not, fuck you. That's the meanest reaction. If not, fuck you, it becomes, I mean, probably in his case, he might have needed to take some time off and be like,
yeah,
I realize there is a sticking point with humanity, past which it will not fucking take itself. So
right.
Lest I start being an abusive asshole, let me take a step back.
Yeah.
Because these fuckers will not see this thing that seems very important to me that they see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, God, that weirdly reminds me of like teaching younger kids in theater. And like, I have a pretty good handle on a large group of kids, and I can communicate with them really well, and I can inspire them, and I'm good at that. But every once in a while, I would get so frustrated with like a kid for, quote, like not listening, or for, you know, being literally for being a kid and not having the full faculties to reason out why this moment is not appropriate for you to act like that. Like, I've told you, why don't you know? And realizing years later, like, I don't think I ever really yelled at a kid fully, but I've gotten pretty strident with a kid. Like, it's unacceptable in a way that was, rather than like, oh, you can't pay attention right now. You know, either there's some neurodivergence going on, or just your brain isn't developed in the same way that humanity doesn't get it yet.
Yeah.
And it is frustrating. Really frustrating. But knowing that it's not like they're choosing
right. I know.
being ignorant.
Or difficult.
I mean, sometimes they are. There are people who are choosing difficulty. There are trolls.
Yeah. But most people just can't. They're not like trying to fuck with me.
Right.
You know, it's not about me.
Yeah.
Like, so if I take it personally, but it comes back to that idea of intent versus impact. After a while, you know, you do a thing for 20 years. And if for 20 years, everybody's intent is nice, but they can't fucking hear the thing you're saying, at a certain point, you gotta like, maybe they can't hear it and I need to stop.
Because you're not telling them right.
No, like that's not what I'm saying.
Oh,
what I'm saying is, let's say you've tried every angle there is.
Uh-huh.
You've told them right, quote.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. But you've told them in all the ways you can think that maybe this way, maybe this way, maybe this way. They still won't hear it. And so at a certain point, one has to say to oneself, maybe they just can't hear it. And rather than me abuse them, think that abusing them into hearing it is better than them not hearing it.
Uh-huh.
I might have to just let them not fucking hear it.
Yeah.
The only problem with it is, here's the hard part. They come to you. They pay you to tell them. They demand that you tell them. Then you tell them. Then they won't hear it. That is irritating for anyone. I don't care who the fuck you are. And after you deal with that enough, it's hard not to sort of turn your heart off to humanity.
Yeah.
And go, you people are insane. It's like, Cassidy, if I came to you and I said, that pink shirt you're wearing, I would like to pay you $250 for you to hand it to me. Could you hand it to me now? And then you start to hand it to me. And I go, ew, take that back.
But you just paid me. Here, take the shirt. Katie, you want the shirt?
No, I don't. No, you take it.
No, you literally just paid me. Here's the contract that says I will pay you $200 and you will hand me that shirt. Okay.
Can you keep the shirt though?
No, but the reason you paid me is to give you the shirt.
Oh, how about you keep the shirt and I won't have it? That is the experience after a while of like, okay, wow. Wow. Now,
hey, Katie, we just did that improv thing we've been talking about needing to do more of.
We did a little improv, yeah.
Improv.
We did. What I will say is, of course, I'm constantly coaching myself through this thing. I mean, I'm talking about constantly. It's constant. But the teaching for me on it, let's flip the script here, is compassion, patience, and mercy. If I gentleize the delivery and don't abuse people with the information, they actually it trickles in a little better. It's just that there's only so much breathing one can do until it's just like constantly getting shoved up against a wall of spikes. You can breathe.
Yeah.
And it can become less terrible being tortured, and you're still being tortured.
Have you watched Theater Camp, the movie on Hulu yet?
No, I just saw should I?
It's, again, tangentially related, but they treat the kids like bad directors treating adults shouldn't also. This will destroy you. This will be the hardest work you've ever done. It will destroy you. Wow. Or like, what are you doing? What are you doing up there? Why are you on my stage ruining things or whatever, It's great. It's funny. It's kind of touching and all the tears and all the things. It's great.
Is it real? It's real theater camp?
No, it's a mockumentary.
Oh, okay.
It's a mockumentary.
Well, now I definitely have to watch it.
It's very comedy.
I need to see it then. I can't wait. Well, I was saying this to you before we started recording, but I want to just say, lest you feel as we go into this interview that I'm just totally bulldozing. I am quite excited to get a little bit deep here mystically with our guest, because I have specific stuff for her that is pretty particular to the.
Yeah, no, you got it. You guys, I feel like we put a pin in a conversation last time, and especially between you two specifically, of like, oof, we just got started. So thank you for calling that out though ahead of time. I appreciate that idea, because that also gives me a little signal like, you know what, I'm going to lay back. It's fine. I'll lay back a little bit today. If I have something to say, I'll say it. But
yeah. Is there anything else about the show you're doing or anything else you wanted to share? How's it going down there?
It's great. It's great. I'm still I think I've said this phrase before, but I keep saying it. God damn it. It's nice to be in a process that I trust.
Oh, that's really good.
It's just, that phrase has been banging around so much lately that I feel like I need to do something with it. Like it's a framing that needs to be forwarded, at least for me.
I get that.
This idea of like, how do we create a process that we can trust so that when we're in resistance to a thing, this is relevant to what we were just saying, we still know that like in the greater frame, we're working towards something that we believe in, right? So if you say something that I might disagree with a little bit, if we're not in a trusted process, I'm going to disagree with it a lot.
Right.
And then plant a fucking flag in that disagreement and be like, we can go no further until, you know what I mean? Instead of like being able to be like, okay, not totally on board with that, but I do trust you. And I know in the bigger picture, you will either change your mind or be right.
Right. It's funny. This makes me want to work with young actors. I'm like, I want to work with people who don't know as much as you, so I can just tell them to do what I want.
Right. Oh, I've been not pushing back hardly at all in this process.
Is that right? Because you feel so much trust.
Yeah, I feel trust. I'm like, yeah, fucking, you're smart. You know what you're doing. You're telling me what to do, and I'm going to do it.
That's very cool. By the way, I was kidding, but also kind of not.
Kind of not. No, there is something to be said for just like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Well, but don't you kind of want that as an actor?
What?
Too?
As what?
You want a director to just tell you what to fucking do.
It depends on the moment. I'm kind of the worst.
Right.
I'm the actor I don't want to direct.
Yeah, I learned that with that Aaron Merritt project because we didn't have the luxury of conversation.
Right.
Because she couldn't speak.
Right.
There had to be a lot more respect of each other's roles. I have to respect that you just going to say what you got to say and I'm going to do it. And you got to respect that I'm going to do what I can with what you've given me. Mm-hmm. You know, because that is really the two respective jobs of director and actor.
Yep.
And so it may also be that process has informed this process with Ken, where I've taken my ego back a little bit.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. She's here. I'm going to let her in.
Awesome.
You're the best.
Thanks for all your awesome questions today.
Oh, I love you. You're one of my faves. Top 5.
Top 5. Yes. That's a good number to be.
Maybe top 4.
Ooh. Damn. Ooh, studio.
Hey, Adrienne.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Just,
I don't know.
threw my back out.
I don't know anything at all about how you're doing.
Oh my God. Hold on. Let me put this down.
She's, for the listener, she's just putting down random stringed instruments that are vaguely recognizable.
Are we are we on right now? Are we recording?
We're always on. We're recording immediately. It's ABR, baby. Looking at your back. Your back looks really good. I like your shoulder. I like your back.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Adrienne and I just got here.
Hi, greetings. Thank you for talking this way.
Hi, thanks for talking.
This is how we spiritual people talk, therefore.
Breathy voices.
Adrienne.
Check in with yourself. Yes, I'm ready.
Welcome back. We were joking before you got on about our all mutual friend Safiya did this like incredible job of giving us like links to your website and your Insta and all the things that we did not look at all before we met you the last time. And then this time I did a deep dive on you, and now I'm very excited because I have specific ask questions for you about your music and its relationship to that or that.
Yeah.
We also had a fun, we were just remembering, we had like the weirdest tech problem laden episode with you, which I wanted to get into a little bit today, only because it's so common with high frequency woo-woo people for technology to not work. Do you run into that?
I do have a lot of issues, yeah, in general, but definitely like stuff. I was like thinking about it before I got on with, I was like, whatever, like I went to the bathroom, I flushed the toilet.
Yeah.
And then I remembered how there was all those crazy fart sounds on our call.
Totally.
And I really thought like, I bet that happens to her a lot or both of them a lot. And stuff like that happens to me a lot too.
Well, it doesn't happen a ton on here, but where I can tell you it does happen is, and this is what I think valuable for the listener, really, you may be more aware of this than some of the folks listening maybe, but maybe not, is that when there are certain high frequency energy, just as an energy healer, where I run into it is with clients all the time or in class, where there's an aspect of the psyche that doesn't want the information at hand. In other words, there are high frequency parts of self that are really aligned with consciousness or spirituality or God or whatever. And then there are the parts of us that go like, no, thanks. So resistance comes in. And then there's this energy called shaitanic energy, which is darkness that works against the light. And darkness that works against the light loves to show up in the form of fucking up your technology. Because if you're strong enough, or you could say surrendered enough or aligned, or if you care, or whatever words you want to use, it won't fuck with you. You'll show up, you'll answer the questions, we connect, our hearts are together, hallelujah, namaste. But what can it fuck with? The format through which we're talking. So it was really relentless that day. And I found it really interesting that you're someone on a path, like a legit ass high frequency. You're like a legit mystical traveler, right? And I'm certainly that as well. And so two of us together, it was like whatever portals the shaitan could find, it was like, let's fucking shut this shit down. There's too much light here, is one possibility for what was going on. There's other ones. But anyway, just as a starting point of conversation, I thought that was a fun thing to talk about.
That is interesting. And since we spoke, I had my album release concert in Berkeley.
Congratulations.
That particular concert I've never experienced so many like technical issues in a show in my life, in my whole life. I think I'm just making sure that that's a true statement. But,
yeah,
there was like feedback. I had this microphone that I had a new microphone to mic up one of my guitars. And right in the middle of like the peak moment of the first song off of my album. So I did a few songs on setar, singing in Farsi, and then I transitioned to just my album. And everyone's howling like wolves because that's what happens in the song. And so I'm like, come on, howl, everyone's like, oh, going crazy. And then the microphone just drops off of my guitar right as I'm about to get into the next section. And that was a whole, fakakted kind of a moment. And then like I went and sat and played the keyboard, and then the guitar, like just like Safiya described it as like it leapt up out of the guitar stand. Like it literally felt like it just went pew, ka-punk, like in the middle of the song. I mean, it probably just felt it. And then there was like, oh my God, it was just so many things. And then it wasn't working. And then like I sang the whole song, like a whole song before I realized that it wasn't even, and then the drums, and there's just like all these things. And I interpreted it as God being like, you know, you're here right now. You're here right now. You're here right now. So that my mind couldn't wander into trying to perform or trying to be a character, or trying to like do a really good job. It was like, you are here to serve the music. That is what you're doing right now.
Which I would add is you were also smack dab in the middle of 7 retrogrades astrologically. Do you know that?
And it was a full moon too.
2 retrogrades that everybody knows about, Venus and Mercury, were retrograde during your show, which is already you're going to have technical difficulties, machines don't work, etc. There were 5 other planets simultaneously fucking retrograded. So it was, but my point is to underline exactly what you're saying is that oftentimes many astrologers' perspectives about what retrogrades are for is exactly what you just said. Is like, sure, it's all falling apart, guys, but it's to review. Are you present? Also, do you want this? Also, like slow down and look at it, whatever it is. So anyway, I love that you said that because you were in the middle of 7 of them. 7.
I feel like, was I born in the middle of 7 retrogrades? Like, I'm curious about that. I have a lot of questions about that. That's so cool. I love that interpretation.
That's good stuff. Okay, now I'm so excited. Okay, I got to ask you some stuff. Your training as a singer, did it start Persian, Farsi, singing specific? Nope.
No.
Tell us about the journey of where did it start as the singing training, and then how did it merge into where it is now?
Well, thank you. I started singing when I was a kid, like a lot of us just start singing as children. But I got into doing musicals when I was like 5, and I was a little Bay Area child actor in things. And then just started writing songs when I was a teenager. And when I was 17, this is like bookmark moment, I felt this doorway, I guess I would describe it, just like peek open into I'm half Iranian, my dad's Iranian, and I had no connection with that side of me really. And I just wanted to like somehow for some reason wanted to learn something in Persian music. And so I took lessons from a guy, and I learned one song, which I sang at my high school, like cultural appreciation concert thing. And then I just it was just with me. And then a couple of years later, I went to India and found out about Meher Baba, and Meher Baba was Irani. His father was Iranian and his mother was Parsi. And there are a lot of Iranians always at the center in Meherabad. And so India and Iran kind of became like, Iran converged for me, and my connection to my Iranian heritage converged for me there in India. So it just sort of, that song stayed with me, but I really was just singing in English and doing that. And then like 10 years ago or more, maybe like 15 years ago, I don't know. But I started teaching voice and realized that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to teach voice, and I didn't really even know how to sing. Like, I knew how to sing and express myself, but I had no formal training. And I found a teacher who changed my life. His name's Zachary Gordon. He's my coach. He's an opera teacher and just a beautiful person. And he actually was so crazy, but he's half Iranian, and he didn't even know he was half Iranian until many years later. Anyway, that's his story. But so there was just all these like half Iranian, like things.
Wow.
But yeah. So I'd say and then in 2016, I met my teacher, Mahsa Vahdat, and that's a whole incredible story as well of her coming to the Bay Area from Iran. And it was the combination of the Western musical training for many years, and then developing enough skill to teach that, and now being, very I love teaching voice so much. And then having that integrated Iranian traditional music coming back into my life, like hella years later in 2016, and diving into that path of that traditional form. So it's something that has taken many years to develop, and I've gone really deep into technique, and now I feel I'm a little bit more integrated and in the present moment with my expression, and can do all the things I like to do with my voice, and I don't lose my voice. And it's amazing. That's like the best part of it.
Incredible. I know, right? That's the value of training, right? To keep the body healthy, or just to be able to do the thing. How many albums do you have at this point?
I came out with my first album in 2008, and that's a full-length album that I recorded in New Jersey with a friend of mine. And in 2018, I released kind of a compilation of songs I had been working on with my producer friend, who ended up doing my most recent album, Wash It All Away. And that came out like last week. So that's kind of the culmination of everything. And then a couple of years ago, I released a few singles that I had been sort of sitting on since there was this period of my life. I had a relationship that was kind of fucked up. And I had that album that came out in 2008 that kind of A New Life, which was really amazing, but it's just a lot. You don't realize it I didn't realize it when I was younger, that just because I wanted something really bad didn't mean I was ready for it, or that I knew what the consequences were of going for it. So trying to make an album and be an artist and be a singer and all these things, like once it kind of started to come into fruition, I sort of freaked out. Mm-hmm. And that experience froze me in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And then I got into a relationship with somebody, and it was, I'd say, on the abusive path. And I stopped writing music. And after I, closed up that relationship, I was sort of shut down, but I just started writing so many songs, and I recorded them and made demos of them. And then like during the pandemic, the person that I recorded them with, Andrew Reisiger, reached out to me and was like, do you want to release these? You haven't done anything for a while. And I was, it's sort of embarrassing, in a certain sense, because it's like this raw, younger version of myself that I decided to put out many years later. Like, oh, I want people to know the me now, not the me then. But then I'm like, wait a second. I need to know the me from then and love her and not be because I was too embarrassed to share any of those songs, because I had such a massively developed inner critic that was like not going to let me do anything. Yeah. And so making this album was like the healing of that. I'm so proud of this Wash It All Away. It's like this, I've never I can definitely say never, like I've never in my life been so proud of something I've created. And like, that critical Virgo rising or whatever you want to call it, like, is just like, it's just turned down so much because of whatever it took to get it out. So
that makes a ton of sense.
That was the really long answer to your
So like 3 albums and 2 singles.
I have 3 albums and like 3 or 4 singles. Yeah. 4 singles. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it though. I get the longer answer makes a ton of sense, because when you're making art, right, it's so integrated, usually, oftentimes anyway, with our personal experience of what's going on in our lives. So it's hard to just talk about a number of albums, because it's your life. It's your journey. It's your whole, to wit. Now I'm like, okay, the Meher Baba stuff. Can we come back to that for just a moment?
Sure.
Okay, because for the listener, if you don't recall, I would encourage you to listen back to our first episode with Adrienne, where we just sort of started to get into her journey with, it's Meher Baba, right? That's
Meher Baba, yeah.
Meher Baba. A few questions on that. Like I'm going to ask you some questions that feel untethered to the music at first, and then I'm going to tie it back to the music.
Cool.
If that's okay. I just want to give you, because it could feel like I'm suddenly just going left field and then what happened to music. So for you, well, let me start with, what year was it? So when you met Meher Baba?
Well,
energy.
Yeah, Meher Baba, we say he dropped his body in 1969, but I was he kind of, I guess, awakened himself in me is how I think of it in 2010. 2003.
Okay. So before a lot of what you were just telling us about.
Yes.
Which makes me go, that's where I'm like, okay, so how much of the songwriting the whole time has been informed by your experience with having him awakened within you?
It used to be like the songs I'd write about relationships and like love and lust and all that stuff. It was like that path. And then there was the songs that I'd write about Meher Baba and spirituality. And it was like that for a long time. And I'd say, ultimately, no matter what, I'm singing to the divine. The conversation is between me and God all the time, even if I'm singing about like
a boy,
doing it with a boy.
Yeah.
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 Or somebody else. Anyway, but yeah, it was like, I'd say there was a moment when I met my husband and my now husband, and he had that reunion with Meher Baba. He wasn't a Baba lover. He was on his own, really, you should have him on the podcast. He's got a really beautiful spiritual, like crazy story. But then he found out about Baba, and I mean, he knew about Baba through me, but it clicked for him like a couple of years into us being together after we got engaged. And I never pushed it on him or that's not how we did it. But somehow that happening and his openness about Baba and like unabashedly just telling people in his life about it like broke something in me that felt like I needed to keep this thing secret. Like I needed to keep Baba over here and my spiritual truths in this little kind of glass bubble that I would just only bring out when I was at a Baba gathering or in really intimate friendships, And there's something about my partner, my life partner, my soulmate person, like just being on this path with me that gave me so much more confidence. And I also stopped writing as many songs about relationships. I wasn't going through breakups. So I wasn't writing breakup songs,
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying is we need to take Taylor Swift to meet Meher Baba.
Basically.
That's what you're saying.
And what would happen? Who knows?
Who knows
what would happen? I mean,
I think she would become the president of the United States.
Or she would just want to go and live in a cave and never talk to anyone ever again.
Or her body would just evaporate and she would just transcend.
I'm so curious about the different possibilities, or what would she think would happen to her?
That's not relevant.
We like to theorize about another human being's experience who's not here to defend themselves. Go.
Yeah, let's do that more in life.
Okay, so is there a connection? I have so many questions for you. One is the Meher Baba lineage at all, or frequency, we might say, connected in any way to Sufism?
In Meher Baba said that he came to bring all religions together like beads on one string. So but it's not, I would say that if loving Baba were a religion, which it really isn't, it would be most closely connected to that. That's my experience of it. It's the lover and the beloved, God as the friend, as your best friend, like Rumi, Hafez, like these epic Persian language poets that, speak in this language of lover and beloved. Like Baba quoted them a lot and said that they were perfect masters, that they were true masters. And that is that is part of what just clicks for me on all cylinders. And part of what makes me really grateful to have this Iranian heritage as well, because I feel like it's in my DNA almost to view God in this way, So there is a lot of similarity, but like every religion, there's like some hierarchy and rules and structure and things that are, within the Sufi path that are not present, but in Baba path. But like just the idea of like a person going out into the desert and for 40 days, like meditating on the beloved and saying, take me, do what you will with me. I long only for a reunion with you and to see you in all things. Like that's what's going on kind of over here. Except that Baba was very adamant that like with most of his people, like, you should live in the world and be practical, be grounded in your practical life, because that is where your spiritual development will occur, you know?
The reason I'm asking is everything you've said is very Sufi, the non-religious, non-dogmatic Sufism that I'm familiar with is everything you just described. So it's not dogma, and it's not religion, and it's just knowing the beloved and then living your life. And it's many things, but it's not the trappings of a system. Now, there are many arms of Sufism that are taught and held in a very trappings of the Muslim tradition, obviously, and Islam, not the Muslim tradition, Islam. You can do Sufism that way, in the same way that you can do any mystical path in the way of its father religion source or whatever. But yeah, so thank you for that, because it sounded so familiar. I thought there must be at least like ethnic or historic connective ties. And so the way you're saying that he's referencing that.
He also referenced, and is the Sufi path is also very related to like mystical, like Franciscan Catholicism. Like Saint Francis is a really amazing example of that's basically Sufism. You know what I mean? Like you could kind of, and Sufis are basically Franciscans, you know, it's like this exaltation of the divine within each of us, and that Christ or Baba or the avatar, that figure is like our true self.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which brings me to another question I had for you. When we spoke last, I probably like cemented the sentence you said probably incorrectly, because you know how in language and communication you like latch onto a sentence and make it mean a thing. And so I wanted to come back to a sentence you said and sort of understand it better. You were talking about that Meher Baba is considered by his followers, or I'm not sure what the term is, follower Baba lovers, to be the avatar of the divine consciousness, which in my travels, I've seen every system thinks they have the avatar for the divine consciousness. So to me, it's like there's divine consciousness and then avatars show up, plural, some of which are really pure frequencies of said thing, and some of which are different kinds of frequencies or aspects. There are many avatars from my perspective of the consciousness and or the divine light. And so I wonder, how do Baba lovers hold the notion that there's not just one avatar, or is the Baba lover perspective that there is just one and all the others are like false prophets or?
Well, it's not that all the others are false prophets. It's that there's one, what we call avatar, which is just a word to describe like this one specific soul that does this one specific role of like Ram, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, like the prophet, and then Meher Baba also said that he was that one. And he said that there were saints and that there were perfect masters that were also fully realized beings that had a different role, and that the avatar's role is one of pushing humanity forward in this big way, which is, kind of beyond my, I'm not going to like try to explain all of it right now, but like, because I am just but a mere mortal. But there's like, it's like this one job that this avatar in this context comes to do, which is, really to bring all of us together. And of course, and it's like a long game. It is not like, here comes the avatar and it's like Avatar: The Last Airbender and like all living, in like 50 years. And like, it's going to be like, which would be super awesome. And I love that show a lot. But yeah, it's like holding the entire universe. Like there's pure consciousness, and then there's the whim that consciousness should know itself. And from that whim springs the avatar. And from the avatar, all the other forms of consciousness like come down, it's like that. Mm-hmm. And there's more to it. And this is my interpretation.
Fully get all of that. we won't hold you to it.
The disclaimers. Yeah.
Well, I think what I want to just say, I'm just kind of a challengey lady, but also because it's just a conversation. Again, I would say that many systems I've been a part of describe their avatar exactly the way you just did.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
right. Like that there is the avatar, and the avatar is the one we all follow and hang out with and do the light work with. And then everything else falls from it. And so I've heard that narrative in so many locations. And I happen to be a mystic myself, such that I've tasted the light through the depths of my being in my heart and passed into the unity where there is no self in many flavors of it. That part of what has become, I guess I would say, relevant in my reality, consciousness, I don't even know, is the notion of no more avatars, which is to say, we know the oneness as ourselves or not. And the avatar, whichever one you're avataring with, makes it possible, is a vehicle, you could say, or a portal, you could frame it, through which each of us can become awakened to love and consciousness. Now, all of that blah, blah is not to say to you personally, your avatar is not the one avatar. It's more just to talk about it. How often I hear someone say that set of words about their avatar, and how I feel a responsibility somehow within myself to publicly say, let's look at that.
I love what you're saying, and it's helpful. And like, one of the things that I love about Baba, one of the many things that I love about Baba is that, like, it's like a very sort of femme approach I feel that Baba gives. It's like it's everything, it's like fiercely like, I am the one, follow this path. And it's also very much like, don't leave your religion. Don't, if you have a connection with, if you're Christian, be Christian. If you're Buddhist, be Buddhist. If you're Muslim, be Muslim. And like, and stick with me, and we'll go together, and we'll do it all together. It doesn't like,
yeah.
You don't have to like
exclude anything.
Yeah.
It's not either or, right?
It's not either or. And the other thing too is like, I like the way that you kind of spoke that back of like, here's the avatar, and then everything falls from this one being. Like, I do feel that Meher Baba is that, and that like Ganesh is that, and Shiva is that. And I feel that. And I also feel that like the other masters that people connect with in this very real and genuine way, where it's not a charlatan that's coming and saying like all this stuff and then give me all your money and let me like assault you and abuse you. Like that's a different story, but like, if that's your contact point to the limitless river of love that is churning and flowing through all life and through all of us, then it's not better than, or worse than, or less than, or higher than. And that's something that Baba also says, is there is no greater, there is no smaller, there is no first in line, there is no last in line. It's all happening. And my link is with him. And that's like part of the importance, I think, of that message of like, I am the master, is like, if that is my master, and then I'm like, oh, well, maybe that can be my master too. And that can be my master too. Ooh, like I've experienced that in my life. And I find it to be very mentally destabilizing. And I've come back again and again to this consistency, and it is very like kind of, it's a little anti-Western mind as well. It's like devotion, obedience, like to this one path and this one figure. If that figure isn't trustworthy, that's very dangerous, and part of the blessing of me finding Baba in 2003 and him not being physically alive and like not having, there's no lineage or like leaders that are like, I say the word of Meher Baba. I mean, I think there probably are like in the greater world, like people who've started Baba cults and stuff like that, but I don't know about that personally. But like, when I first had that connection with Baba, like, and I'm just saying this because I like the conversation. I'm not trying to like convince anybody about Baba. But when I first felt that when I was 18, it was like, I never thought I was in need of a master, and just the whole concept of a master. And I didn't like the word God. I didn't like the restrictiveness or the sort of the implications of that word. I would use the word Tao because I love thinking of God as a fluid path. Tao means the way. I love that so much. And when I, had that connection with Baba, it freaked me out and I wasn't sure about it. And it was like a man. I couldn't get over this. Like, it's a man. And now I don't think of Baba as a man. I think of Baba as everything. I think of Baba as a man and a woman, and everything in between. But it was like arriving at the center and seeing this one of Baba's quotes on the wall. And it said, oh man, I just read it the other day. Above all things, over anything that I may say or anyone may say to you, trust the dictates of your own conscience. Let your mind be as firm as a rock that withstands winds from all directions. And I was like, okay. Like immediately I can follow a master that tells me to follow my own conscience, that tells me to follow my own self. I'm down with that. I'm safe here. And I have been really safe in this path. It's been super awesome. And it's just like a path within myself. It's like, I don't know. It's just it's a love story.
That makes 1,000,000% sense to me. Which brings me to the next question I had, which was, okay, I'm going to give context for this one and then ask it. Because I have my own journey, right? And my own story and my own awakenings. I love talking with other people on their own journey. Like one thing I know is that there's no one thing ever. There's always just what is happening now for you and me and Cassidy, and each individual being has its own trip. Anyway, I'm thinking of how to form the question because I'll give context. So when I was deep on the Sufi path for years and years and years, and it was the primary river, I would say, I was pointing my ship toward. And I was in full bowed surrender to specifically Allah, the river of Allah's love, because of some very profound experiences I had with it, changing my life and healing my soul and all the experiences I had. There came a moment where I guess what I want to say is I've had this dynamic relationship ever since this moment I'm trying to point at between divine love. Like, in Sufism, we talk about the river of love and love, love, love. It's all about love and loving. Then God is the beloved and the love, and devotion and love and Sufi language, love. And then there's consciousness. And I started to have it felt like flip-flopping between, like, I was tapping into the seat of everything, conscious awareness, like a kind of silent, vast field from which all things are created, including love. So to me, I started to experience it like, this is all a question. This is not, and I'm just living into this question. Behind love, there's the seat of consciousness is my current experience. And that the seat of consciousness, if you could say it like that, from it, one of the things that arises is this bubbling, endless brook of love, such that love is no longer the end or the source, the fire hose consciousness is. But when I kind of bumped into that, it was confusing for the part of me that had vowed its soul essence and alignment to love or the divine light. So for a long time now, I've been calling the energy I transmit for people in my sessions and the thing I talk to all day that animates my being, divine consciousness. Because when I asked consciousness, is it you or is it God? Is it you or is it divine light? It was like, yes. And I was like, cool. But I've really been sitting with this in a deep way since Colorado, actually, it's 3.5 years or something like that. Like, does God flow from consciousness or does consciousness flow from God, or are God and consciousness one thing? And I get that the last thing is the truest one. And yet, if I were to describe to you the seat of consciousness, it's less of a thing than love is. You know how love kind of has a frequency? Like you can feel it's warm and it's love. It has a frequency. And I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about divine love. There's something less and more spacious in the river of consciousness. And then love is like this slightly heavier frequency, ever so slightly, such that I've been feeling a real need to distinguish between the two, because I'm always curious about what is behind the behind. Like, what is the beginning? Is it consciousness? Is it love? Yes, is the answer I get right now. It was just my point being, there was a point where in the asking of all this, one thing they showed me was, if you weren't a human being, Katie, if you weren't in human form, love would be irrelevant. The divine is not necessarily relevant to all of creation. It was showing me, I would sit in meditation with this question that would show me like, you in particular would be an asshole hard without divine love. And I am. I know, it's right. I know myself. Like, if I don't get back to the well, I'm just a punishing, vengeful fuckhead. It's
Cool.
just true.
Super hot.
So like the divine is there for me to remember mercy and compassion and justice and unity and forgiveness, all the qualities of the divine love. However, /and there is a seat of, there is more past that. And I would just offer consciousness is not attached to whether we are nice to each other or not.
Yeah.
Whether we are love or not.
Or whether we have a good time or not. Or whether we're happy or not.
None of it is relevant. It's all creation. It's married to creating more, expansion, creation and expansion. But love is married to like care and consideration. So like the best I have so far, because I keep talking to it about this, is they're like, honey, boo boo, you need love and consciousness. You are going to be teaching consciousness stuff and love stuff, but you need the love. But we don't.
Yeah.
Like consciousness, it's available for those beings who require it. Because if humans didn't have the divine love, we would just destroy ourselves and each other. And we're close to doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. Even though we have the divine love, we don't choose to pick it up.
Right.
Or live from it as a collective, right? Per se, necessarily.
Right.
Some
we
people do.
Fight it. We're like in opposition to it. Like we know it, we feel it's there and it makes us mad.
Correct. Every bit of the ego's job is to say no thanks to that. Anyway, these are some things.
I love those things. It really like makes me, I love it so much because, okay, I have this song that's on my album that I would love for everyone listening to go listen to it if you're vibing with this conversation. It's called Love Song in the Void. And it was like a transmission that I received when I was studying a ghazal, a long form poem from Hafiz. The idea that love is like something snuggly is not, I mean, snuggly love is awesome. Don't get me wrong. But love is also what you're describing as consciousness. Like, I also feel that is love. Like, if we just use one word to describe all of it, from my experience, like, it's brutal, it's cold, and it doesn't care. But the master cares, but also contains that not caring and that coldness. Like, right. You have to move forward, and it takes whatever it takes to get you there.
Right.
And it might not seem like love while it's burning you from the inside out, but I see the future and I see the beginningless beginning. I see the endless end. I know who you are, where you've been, and where you're going. And, I know what you need, and here it is. And that's why, like, in that song, I have a line that I say,
Everybody seems to think they know love, but they run from the endless vastness. Oh, yeah.
It's like that. That's kind of what you're just talking about.
That's right.
It's not just so cut and
cuddly.
dry.
Yeah.
It's a whole mess.
Like in Sufism, their framing of this is the 99 names for God, or the 99 qualities of God, one of which is like death and wrathfulness and strength and that which will kill you or whatever. Because, and this comes up a lot with my clients too, is that everybody thinks on their spiritual path, they're supposed to be getting fuzzier.
Yeah.
Warmer, fuzzier. And it's like sometimes, but sometimes fucking not. God is 99 things, not a thing called fuzzy love.
And God is infinite things. God is literally everything that has ever been. So it's like,
right.
You can say like Donald Trump is evil, but you can also say Donald Trump is consciousness manifest as Donald Trump doing a very important role, which sucks. It's a super shady. I'm glad I don't have to be Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? If that has to happen, I'm just glad I don't have to be the one to do it this time. But who knows? Who knows?
I've looked at some of my past lives and I've been pretty powerfully tyrannical in a bunch of them.
I feel like we were probably out there just like cutting off heads and
For sure.
horrible shit.
Exactly. Okay. This brings me to, so thank you for all that. That was fun. This brings me to like this intimacy we have with the beloved, right? The divine. I hear your songs and I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, I'm like, yep. For you, I'm trying to form this. This is, what's it all for?
In
other words, like, what's the love with the beloved for? One option would be to experience love of the beloved, right? Or another thing would be to show me where to go with my choices. Another would be, it's my karma. Like, how do you frame for yourself?
Damn. I think about that sometimes. Recently, I was having a really hard time. And I, for the first time in my life, I had this thought. It was like, why do I have to even believe that there's a God? This is so fucking horrible. Like, I hate this. Because knowing that you're there and then not being able to rely on you, not trusting you right now, being full of doubt, questioning everything. Like, this is way worse than just thinking that we are born and we die and we become a tree. Like, that to me is like so nice, actually, to think about it that way. And I don't really know, like, and then it passed and then I cried and I'm better now. But like, it sort of, what it's for is like, can I like stumble through that answer? Cause I like it. It's making my brain like have tingly feelings. I feel like this love for the beloved I guess you could think about it. I could think about it. And I do sometimes, like, I am the beloved, and this is this experience of that isn't really full truth, the whole story. And loving the beloved is the journey back to recognizing that I am the beloved and that there is no separation. And also, what if it's also just, sometimes I feel like it's like sociopathic, like our whole existence is just like this shitty, sorry. It's like, this is also a way that I feel like the 199 million names of God. It's like, this is all just like a joke, like a horrible joke that we all believe that we're something that we're not. And that it's like, we just go kill each other and do horrible things to ourselves and each other and believe all this stupid bullshit about ourselves. Like, our fucking butt size matter. Are you serious? I feel embarrassed and like also laugh at like the level of consciousness that I have access to and how much of that consciousness I have spent thinking about like what I look like in a mirror. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like a divine being and I'm like, oh my God, I have like 4 new wrinkles. Oh my God. It's like, what the fuck, that's what it's for, I guess. And it's like, and I also feel like, and this is maybe less popular of a thought for myself to have as well, but it's like humiliation is actually a very useful part of my spiritual path that I don't like and don't want, but I embrace it as like having many experiences with it. I'm like, okay, this is actually extremely effective. I get it. It's a fast track. It's like, and I don't know where I'm going. Sometimes I don't want to be alive, but ultimately, it's love, and it's the wordless kind of love, that like, it's like, if you even catch a glimpse of this thing that is the truth, that somehow is infinite and somehow is like beginningless beginning and endless end, and somehow knows me and I exist because of it. It loves me and it wants me. Like, God wants me to love them. Like, that is so fucking cool. That's the most beautiful and coolest thing ever. And that I exist just simply so that God could manifest itself exactly like Adrienne Shamszad. Like, I want to be Adrienne Shamszad. I'm going to go be that now for however many years. That makes me feel so, so, so special. And that's true about every single one of us. Like you're so special that God wanted to be exactly like you, you know, and have all of your karma and like kill all the people you killed in all your past lives and like love all the people you love in this life just so that God could do that through you, just so consciousness could do that exactly like you. And like you manifested yourself that way because you are consciousness. And you know what I'm saying? That's pretty cool.
I do. It's interesting. I have a bit of a diverging point in the middle of what you said, but I really hear what you're saying. I have a thing where I think that I'm going to stumble my way through this, but I think that needing to be special is a piece of what separates me from God. So I killed that. I killed that thing, or God killed it. I took God's light into the need to be special and it killed it. And dissolved it. And then
probably a good idea.
Well, I mean, but listen, it's not all cupcakes and roses because
killing your need to be special isn't cupcakes and roses.
Shocking.
Well, what I want to say about it is it could sound very lofty or whatever, or special in and of itself.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But my point is the need to be special for me, even in God's eyes, was killing me. It felt like an endless, you know, they talk about addiction as like a clawing, desperate need for something that isn't God. And the solution to the void, the hungry ghost that's always hungry and never gets full. The solution to that is theoretically God or unification with the oneness. Like if we were unified with it, we'd be whole. And if we were whole, there's no hunger for things that actually cause harm. And I found after killing a bunch of ghosts, hungry ghosts, out of a desperate need to do so because of pain, not because I'm fucking special. One of the hungriest ones was the need for specialness. And I feel like I am recalibrating to reality and why do anything ever since that one died, because I had no idea how many fingers it had in how many web pieces it had and how many pots it was cooking things in. And not to say I have perfect arrival around that, but what I want to say is, like, so when you're saying that, I go, well, what if we kill even that? Like, what if there's no specialness either? Then what? And then as I sit with that, I feel, how do I say this? Let me just sit with this for a second. There's more. Here's what it is. There's an abiding, silent peace that is always here and always accessible post the death of the hungry ghosts that feels like even when things are not okay, officially not okay in my external 3D reality, usually it shows up for me with finances or like an argument with a friend, right? Like I don't feel good about how I said those words to my friend and it hurt their heart. Like that matters to me. Or like there's less money now than there was 2 days ago, whatever those things are. There's this, it's like the ship of me is on this abiding, peaceful, silent okayness ocean that for me did not exist when there was specialness. Now, you might be talking about a different kind of specialness than what I'm talking about. Sometimes these words get very...
Right, like mixed and matched. I mean, I really know the kind of specialness that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I like really, really relate and resonate with it. I think the specialness that I'm talking about in that context that I was talking about it within.
Yeah.
Like the way where we're all exactly special as each other, like there's no more special. And it's not that I'm special to God. It's I'm special because I'm God and everybody's special because they're God. And it's,
yeah.
But then that special that you're talking about is also, I really, really like it's such a wound, you know, it's like exceptional. The word that comes to mind is like that I need to be exceptional, or that like,
right.
evidence of God's love for me or my goodness or my worthiness is in the external reality that I find myself in at any given time.
Right.
That is, I mean, it's really a big part of the story of this album that I just made called Wash It All Away, which I'm very proud of and will have mentioned before. Haha. No, but it's like, what things am I attaching my identity to that are actually, I think I need to like be in order to be the special one.
Right.
And it's actually killing me.
Correct. The approval, what approval are we desperately seeking that we think once we get it will meet the core need of okayness?
Yeah.
Which really, it's the killing of the ghost, the hungriness of it, the killing of the pursuit of it that meets the core need for okayness.
Right.
And yet, now here's what I'm talking about when I say, like, I'm still reorienting my ship around, like, well, fuck, now what then?
Right.
If you really don't need the approval. So I've been sitting with that question for a while now of like, well, what would I create now? What do I create now? Now I'm just a creative vessel that could create anything.
Yeah.
What to create? Because if I don't care, that's the wrong way to say it. If I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the core thing. It's just a couple years old for me to have my core feeling be okayness. What? Brand new for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, a full brain fart. Like no words can follow that because I'm like, well, I could just sit here. I could just literally sit right here and that's fine. But then here's the trick the universe plays. Time marches on and your body has to shit and then your body has to eat. And then your body wants to hug your boyfriend and then your body wants the sun. And then your body wants to go see your family. So you have to make money to pay for the trip to go see your family. So this brings me to, I was actually going to ask, this is a literal question I wrote down. I had a friend years ago who we're actually not friends anymore. Surprise, surprise. An Enneagram 8 lost a friend.
Wait, you're the 8 or they're the 8?
I'm the 8.
You're the 8. Okay.
There's a much more complicated story there, but that was a funny joke.
Okay.
If I may say so myself.
If you get the Enneagram, if you don't get the Enneagram, then not
never mind.
At all and just
delete.
Yeah. But Katie is my formal example of an 8. If you're talking about an 8, I'll be like, like Katie Rubin's an 8. Then I go,
oh,
okay.
cool.
They go,
okay. Now I understand an 8.
They go, wait, Katie who? She's nothingness. Isn't she just wind?
Isn't she just air? Isn't she just a fart in the wind?
Cease to exist. I thought.
Did she de-identify with her 8-ness yet? What the fuck was I saying?
I don't know. Oh, it was the question you wrote down.
Oh, you lost a friend.
Oh, my friend. Right. So oh yeah. So she said one time she was on a different she was on the Vipassana teacher in that tradition path and had a real moment of after this moment she was like 10 years older than me. And she had a moment that I now understand. She was trying to articulate it for me at the time, but I didn't know what the fuck she was talking about at the time. But these days I'm like, oh, that's the fuck what she was talking about. She was saying there comes a point where the only thing left to do is exactly what the 3D body requires. In other words, she's like, the only thing to do is chop wood, carry water, because, metaphorically speaking, because when all the internal questions are answered, the only thing to do is the body has needs. The body goes like, well, I need sleep now. Well, now I need friendship. Well, then you find yourself like, I was on this huge esoteric path and I'm leading all these consciousness retreats and I have these big, lofty ideas. Now all I care about is like getting enough sleep, hydrating, making sure I hit yoga. Like all I'm doing is actually in my life is like caring for the body.
Yeah.
Now that seems like a low level set of tasks compared to, when I was transmitting Archangel Michael's whatever for 50 people in a room and their Shakti was raising and it was very Shakti put in a room, wizard magic. Now I'm like, I couldn't give a fuck about esoteria, magic, Shakti put. I'm like, if you need Shakti put, go get it. I'm going to take a bath.
Yeah.
Because the questions are answered. So the only thing to do is like love this body to the best of my ability and bring it as much fulfillment as I can, I guess. Yeah. Now, that's a thing she said then that I couldn't hear because I thought like, I don't know what kind of fucking path you're on if that's where you're at. Side note, another spiritual lesson I've learned. This is for the listener in case it's useful to anyone. Anything in this life, I wonder if you relate to this, Adrienne, that I've ever judged, I've had to be.
I've never broken it down like that before, but that does sound potentially very relatable. Yes.
It's so true in my reality. The degree to which it's true is so extreme that if I catch myself in a judgment, I immediately go, blessings, love and light. I let it go. I release it. I'm not in charge. Like I do a lot as soon as I'm in a judgment because I don't want to become it. Because literally the way my life has worked is, oh, you think teaching is lame? You go and teach 20 years, go. Oh, you think this is lame, Katie? Anything I judge, my life takes me to where there's literally nothing else I can do but that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So now here I am sitting at where my friend said 10 years ago she was at. And I thought it was very pedestrian. And I thought maybe she would lost her. I don't know what the fuck she was talking about.
Yeah.
And I judged it.
Yeah.
And here I am. Oh, it's all about the 3D body now. Huh?
Yeah.
That is not where I thought the big high frequency esoteric fucking path was taking me.
I definitely can just, yes, my sister for sure. Yeah. One of the things with the Baba, with Meher Baba is just like I said at the beginning, the importance on just doing our responsibilities. Like Baba said, don't shirk your responsibilities. That's one of the rules, of life.
Yeah.
To not shirk your responsibilities. And I love shirking my responsibilities. I love oh my God, let me just do this other more seemingly spiritual thing. Say all these really deep things or feel all these really deep ways or have all these special abilities or all this psychic intuitiveness and all this stuff. And I've been in a spiral of I call it a spiral because I'm trying to not call it a struggle, but it has been a struggle of fuck, but I have to pay my goddamn taxes or I have to do this or I have to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
why am I here? And I remember being younger and earlier with Baba and just being like the whole exceptional thing. I shouldn't have to do this. I'm a special artist, spiritual person.
Yeah.
And it's what the fuck, dude? Just go wipe your asshole and call your mom or check in on your fucking clean the litter box, why are you so special? And when you think about it, man, I have so much, there's so much that I don't have to do in order to maintain my body and be okay and my life around me. And I still sometimes feel resentful of the amount that I have to do, which is it's just the humbling path is gonna get me further anyway, actually.
Exactly.
And that's the other thing too. And you have connection with a bigger cosmic force or however you would call it, like a master or whatever. It's I'm not, that's not me. So let me you be that. And then you tell me what to do inside myself. Let me listen to my intuition. My intuition is usually telling me something that way less complicated than what I would create in my own special brain of how special everything is. My intuition's telling me to show up on time and do the dishes and figure out where my next paycheck's coming from and maybe reconsider some aspects of my life that are creating more drama and isolation for me because I'm so used to, and I have mercy for myself because I, have the reference of, past lives and stuff. This is just karma. How many times was I a hermit? How many times was I an authoritarian dictator where I didn't need anyone ever? How many times was I just whatever, suffering in isolation for other reasons? How many times was I a priest? All these things that are these roles that reinstate our, you were saying before, just our separation from each other, and it's it's part of the softening. I really want to be a good person and kind and show up. And also I just want that because it seems like the most efficient way to spend my time. You know what I mean?
I do.
I just want to be efficient with my time. I want to be practical.
Yes.
Because I can do all the other things. I feel part of growing up in this life for me has been almost I've had to accept that I have abilities, in any way. I don't mean just I don't mean spiritual abilities, just any abilities. I have this very mean voice that's you suck and you're not good at anything and you're a failure. And that's really almost as powerful as I'm better than everyone and I'm really great and I'm hot shit. It's the same.
Yep.
It really is the same frequency, actually.
It's two sides of the same coin.
It's
we talk
the same
about it.
coin. The inferiority complex versus the superiority complex. It's a chapter in what, I mean, I'm just, now that you've opened the Baba like floodgates, I will just say Mary Baba's name every 18 seconds, but that's what a chapter in one of Baba's discourses is like the inferiority complex versus the superiority complex. And it's just like, thank God I know about that now, you know?
I do know. I got it in 12 steps. They talk about being the biggest piece of shit the world revolves around.
Yeah, totally.
Like none of it is true. So what is humility? Humility is being in the middle, not being very special or very unspecial. It's like just being okay with being.
Yeah. It was so funny. I was having this thought today about how like our names, like European names, or just names. I don't know how many cultures do it like this, but it's like your job title and then like
last name. You're
a Smith or a Goldstein, or like you're the thing that you do, and then that's who you are.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about it because I was reading the eulogy of an Indigenous woman whose all of her family members were listed, and I am not Indigenous, so this was just like my very like superficial observation, but it was like her last name was Hawk, and her family members' names were like Thunderbolt, and there were these beings, like you're named after something that is, not after something you do.
Yeah, I
think that's pretty cool. It's like an aspiration. Like I aspire to be a hawk, or I aspire to be a thunder horse, or I aspire to be, something that is and adds beauty and dimension to the world, as opposed to doing something that will like deteriorate over time.
That's nice. Yeah. There's so much we could spin off of that from there. But for today, I think we're going to sort of wrap up now soonish. Is there anything you want people to hear or know or say to the people listening? Like, where should they go to find you? What else?
Well, I came out with this album that I have been working on for so many years, actually. And I started recording it last year, and it took so much to just fully manifest it. And I really feel like it's 47 minutes long. And I just really want people to have it. I feel like, especially for those of us who are traversing this like lifey spiritual, path, for me, it's kind of like a handbook a little bit for one aspect of it, like putting down, a big theme of the album is, what is the thing that's like ruining my life that I'm doing to myself that I could actually stop doing and actually make as an offering to God or to the consciousness, How can I like turn all this shit that I'm doing into an offering? One of my songs on there is called Let It Go. It's not a cover of the Frozen song, but it is called Let It Go. And there's this one line in it that I really love. When the sun rose and it's like a storm had come. And then she says, when the sun rose and the light was falling all around, my hands were empty, so I placed them open on the ground. I tried to carry the water in my fists, I gripped with all my might. But the night said, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. When the storm washed all the roads away, our plans were buried in the graveyard of yesterday. I tried to carry the water in my fists, I gripped with all my might. But the night said, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go,
Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. When the sun rose and the light was falling all around, my hands are empty, so I place them open on the ground. I grew quiet and turned towards the hum of the sea calling. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, and let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Oh, let it go. And I wait in the water. And I wait in the water. I listen to the rhythm of the river. I go with the flow of the river. To the ocean. To the ocean of love. To the ocean. To the ocean of love.
Just like that a lot. The whole idea is like, man, I could just spend my whole lifetime just really concerned about my identity and how I appear to myself and others.
Mm-hmm.
And I really deeply long to be in just a more and more constant conversation with that consciousness or that love or that truth source force that is within myself, but it's also within everything. And want to be able to navigate through just having to be a person and having to be an American person and do all the things that we do here in the United States in this day and age as part of our humanity that feel really disruptive and painful and confusing and unnecessary, but actually have to happen. And I want to navigate that with more grace and trust and humility. And also, there's fight in that. And there's lots of songs. There's a few songs on my album that are just portals for the frustration and the relief. And it's really something that I want people to have. And if that's something that people connect with, then I want you to have it, So that's what I would say. Go listen to my album. It's on all the streaming things and it's on Bandcamp if you want to buy it.
And what's it called?
It's called Wash It All Away.
Right. You said that before. And they can also get that on your website, right?
Yeah, I just realized that I forgot to update my website. So I'm going to go call my web designer lady right now. We're going to put it up there so that it will be ready for you when you go to my website.
Awesome.
Well, that is awesome. Yeah, I think that song you just sang, I think was probably your best advertising for it, because we all just fell into your voice. I did.
Come on in, dive on in.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
Thank you so much for coming back, Adrienne. I'm so
Thanks
glad
for having me back.
we did our
Yeah.
homework and could be ready for you this time.
It was cool. I like that there's like the part one that was just like the spontaneous explosion of connection, and the part two that was like a little more dropped in. Yeah, both were really fun.
Good two-parter.
Yeah.
Well, we like to ask our guests, if you feel so inclined on our little sign-off, to just say, do your work.
Do your work.
There you go. Do your work.
Do your work.
Do your work. Keep it up.
We're going to say it like you. Do your work.
Do your work.
Do your work.
Do your work.
We love you, Adrienne. Thank you for being here.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Oh, you know what? I have to do something that'll take me 15 seconds.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com